96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You're now in the Essential Zone, where we seek to be informative, inspirational, enlightening, and dynamic. But more importantly, we seek to be fair and balanced. There comes a time when the game tolerates no spectators, only players. There comes a time when we must recognize that our individual aspirations shape our collective destiny. There comes a time when getting in the game, despite the risks, despite the challenges, regardless of the cost, is simply the right thing to do. There comes a time when we must find our hearts, find our soul, and pursue our purpose for the greater good of all, for country, for humanity. There comes a time when we must manifest our true greatness. Yes, there comes a time, and that time is now. The Essentials, serious radio for serious people committed to advancing the national conversation.
I'm not settling. So many did before me. I'm not settling, yeah. Oh, I'm not settling. I deserve the best. Not going to live my life like the rest. I'm not settling. I deserve the best. Absolutely no opinion, no contest. I'm not settling. I deserve the best. Not going to live my life like the rest. I'm not settling. I deserve the best. Absolutely no opinion, no contest. So many people want the status quo. Why they settle, I don't know. So many options, so many choices, but so many voices want you to believe that you can't achieve, but you're gonna make it if you don't settle. Yeah, I'm not settling. I deserve the best. Not going to live my life like the rest. I'm not settling. I deserve the best.
Good evening and welcome to the Essentials as we listen to Ricardo Clark said that he's not settling. 2023, I believe, is a year not to settle. This is the Essentials, the reset. And you are on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I'm your host, Hubert Edwards, and this evening we're going to have a brief conversation with a well-known life coach, inspirational speaker, trainer, coach, all-around Renaissance man. And then we have some additional discussion to extend what we have been talking about since last week. And we have decided that January, maybe minus 1 week, we're really going to spend some time focusing on preparing our minds, preparing our ideas, looking forward really as to how the year is going to pan out. Because at the end of the day, it's really about mindset. It's really about how you frame your mind, the sort of decisions that you've taken, the level of resilience and perseverance you have decided that you're going to exhibit throughout the year. You know, these things don't just happen. You have to make a decision. You have to be intentional for them to happen. And so if you want to join us in this conversation, as usual, you know the numbers. I will share them with you quickly. Our numbers are 323-6232. That's 323-6232, 325-4259, 325-4259, and 325-4316 if you want to jump in on the conversation. At the very beginning, as you know, when we started, Ricardo Clark says in his song, I'm not settling. My question to you is, up to now, what have you settled for in life? Are you totally satisfied with where you are as an individual, as a human being, where you are as a part of the community, where you are as a citizen of this country, a citizen of the world? Or when you look back, you come to the conclusion that you have settled too much. In some instances, you could have done more. You could have gone harder. You should have done more. You should have planned more. You should have been more intentional. You should have written down some more plans. You should have made those plans bigger. You should have done much more than you have, achieved way more than you have up to now. You draw that conclusion. Many of us have. You're not unique. Oftentimes, when we look back and we try to connect the dot, we realize that, yes, we were just a little bit we were a little bit too fearful. We're a little bit too risk averse. We were just a little bit not ourselves. And I believe that in 2023, we have the opportunity. Always this come with a new year, a new day, a new week, a new month, any new moment. We have this opportunity to renew, to start again, to recommit ourselves to a path forward. So we want to take January, the entire January. We want to have these conversations. We want to have these discussions. We want to have individuals like Nathan Sweeten join us in on this conversation. I guarantee you that they're going to be powerful. And so I want to welcome back to the Essentials on the live line, Mr. Nathan L. Sweeten, author extraordinaire. Has put out a recent book. The most recent one is Mind Over Everything. That's what we want to talk about this evening. Mind Over Everything. Nathan, welcome to the Essentials.
Thanks, Edwards. It's always great to be back here.
Yes, this is your radio home, so to speak.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah. And so we want to have you here this evening and to help us as to kind of set the tone. You have been in this space. I remember the early days when you say, this is the path I'm going down. I was telling somebody today how much I've seen you from the start and how you've grown and you have made this intentional push to become and to create yourself as who you are. Talk to us about what we should be really focusing on as we start this new year.
It's so funny. You said something just now, how I was intentional, and that was actually going to be my very first point. You got to make 2023 a year of being intentional. So being intentional really entails you identifying, why do you get up every day? What is the reason? Like, what are your goals? What is your life vision? What mission are you on? Because being intentional requires you to first identify where you want to go, plan action steps to get there, and then execute. That's a 3-part process. You see? So, like, my biggest thing this year is just being more intentional about where I want to go. Like, the people I hang around, the people I have around me, the TV I watch, the shows I watch, the music I listen to, the shows I listen to, have to be in line with my mission this year, everything. So what that looks like is, so I do public speaking. I have a number of books I want to bring out. I'm actually looking to scale back in my brand and my business to, step it more in the background and operate, sort of pull the strings from the background and not be so much in the forefront and bring on a team. But it's just being more intentional with everything.
The question I have for you, Nathan, is here you are, Nathan Sweeten, once a budding body sculpture, if I can use that term. But now you have decided that you're going to operate in this space. You're going to bring your gifts to bear. You're going to write books. You're going to teach. You're going to try to help people to do what you refer to as building the mind, creating this type of a mindset which helps persons to really pull out of them, because it's already there, to pull out of them their own greatness so that they can move forward and achieve more in life. Take us, because persons are listening, and I know I didn't give you any big introduction because I know you're well known in the country, but in answering that, help people to understand exactly who Nathan Sweeten is, where he's coming from, and why he's here today.
So I started. So first of all, I'm turning 41 in a couple of weeks. Very excited about that. I get excited for every year I'm turning older. Most people try to hide that fact. But I started off really having multiple jobs, and I hated every. And it wasn't necessarily the people or the work I did. I just wasn't interested. I felt like I could have been doing more. So I quit my job in 2010 to become a full-time entrepreneur. Started businesses failed. Started businesses failed, until I started uh, helping people on their health journey, like writing health and fitness programs, a person helping them transform their body. I think that was like 2015 with Elite Fitness and Elite Wellness Solutions. Then we moved on to doing corporate wellness programming. Now, this is where I actually found my true passion. This is where I actually started looking at purpose and gifting and everything. Because when I was responsible for facilitating the workshops and seminars for these corporate wellness programs in these companies. I would go and give presentations regularly. And I realized after a while, it was fearful, but after a while, I got over the fear of public speaking. And not only did I do that, but I realized that I actually like doing this. I like speaking in public. So I made a shift in my entire brand and business model that I was going to focus on teaching and public speaking. And that led to me giving, hundreds of keynotes in the Bahamas and in the Caribbean. During that time, I also met a woman who completely blew my mind, but I didn't know that at first. We didn't get along at first. But in 2011, we met. We started dating, got married in 2013, and we had our only child in 2013. So I'm a father and a husband as well. Don't want any more children though. One and done, right? But my focus in life right now is really on using my gifts of speaking and teaching to really understand that you have everything that you need inside of you. Your potential is beyond what you could possibly imagine. Everyone was put on this earth for a specific reason, to add value to this, to serve God and to add value to this world. No one was born to just come into this world, work, pay bills, die. No, you were put on this earth because you have a purpose to fulfill before you leave this earth. And for the mere fact that you are still here, for the mere fact that you woke up today means you're not finished yet. You still have a lot to do. And part of my mission is helping people to realize that, hey, you are here for a purpose, and that purpose is a major thing. But where I help people is I help you to identify that purpose, to learn yourself, to build that level of self-awareness, to understand, okay, these are the things that I'm passionate about. These are my goals. This is why I wake up every morning. This is the mission that I'm on. This is how I'm going to add value to this world. You know, this is where I'm going to be next year, 10 years from now, and just having that overall vision for your life, and then having the courage and the habits and the discipline to execute on that. So that's my life mission, to help people to discover themselves and manage themselves. And that's a big topic right there, manage themselves, because I base my platform on self-mastery. Self-mastery really is learning to manage your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. With keyword being on your thoughts, your mind, because your mind is responsible for every emotion you feel. Your mind is responsible for every action you take. Your mind is responsible for every goal you achieve or don't achieve. All success and failure starts and ends in your mind, which is why I brought out my second book, which I just brought out, is Mind Over Everything, which gives you key mindsets, attitudes, and habits you need to thrive in life. So it's a compilation of these mindsets and attitudes. And I have about 20 books I want to write in total, like book ideas. Almost all of them focus on different mindsets you need to have. Strategies as well, but they really focus on the mindset, because people really don't put the focus on themselves like they should. So people would tend to look at their external environment. People tend to look at, okay, what is the government doing? What is my parents doing? What are my co-workers doing? Like, what's happening outside of me? The economy is going bad. And people spend so much attention focusing on their outer world, like their inner world. Okay, why do I react to things this way? Why do I think the thoughts that I think? Why do I overthink? Why do I procrastinate? Why can't I break this habit? Why do I have so much trouble managing stress or managing time? All of these things have to do with self-mastery. So when you take the focus off of your outer world and put it on yourself, meaning mind, emotions, and behaviors with a focus on your mindset, listen, your entire life will change. And that's my life mission, to help people to constantly achieve self-mastery. And that's literally all I work for right now.
Every single thing is really about getting the mind right, getting the mind to the place where it is supposed to be. And like you say, it's mastery. And the idea of the word mastery is that things are not just happening to you. It's not happenstance. You are in there and you're doing things intentionally. You recognize that you have thoughts, and your thoughts are, they may seem to be random, but you understand that you have some level of control. You express and experience different emotions, but you understand that you have control over those emotions. You do certain things, you create certain actions, but you also realize that you have control over those actions. And until you get to that point where words are not just slipping out of your mouth, at least that's what you tell the world. You are not just flaring up and becoming angry because, I'm just an angry person, I can't control that. Or some things happen and then you just run up and slap somebody or do something which is out of the way. When you understand that every single one of those is as a result of the way you think and the way you decide to behave as an individual, until then, live in you as opposed to the other way around where you actually live in life.
Exactly. So in other words, your mind is controlling you instead of you controlling your mind. People have there's a misconception that you and your mind and brain are the same, but that's not true. You have a mind and brain, but you're not your mind and brain. When you can differentiate just that alone, when you realize that, hey, this is my mind, I can't say this is my mind. I can't stop that. You can literally turn off your thoughts. I know a lot of persons have problems sleeping, because they can't turn off their minds. They're thinking about the project that they have to work on, the presentation that they have to give, what they have to do, the bills that are due, and they literally can't turn off their minds long enough to fall asleep, for example. And when you realize that this is actually your mind, so if you can't turn it off, if you can't silence it, if you can't manage the thoughts that are running through it, then who is managing your mind? You got to think about that, because someone is. Well, someone or something is.
Or something is, yeah. So, and these are the things, and I think by the end of the conversation, which I think it's important to start with as we reflect on where we want to be in the future. But certainly, as you know, whenever there's a new year, we always, some persons make resolutions. I don't do that anymore. I just try to put some plans in place and see how best I can work on them. But be that as it may, we always have some outlook or some things that we want to do, which we accord to the new year. Because it's a new year, we recognize that as a renewal, whether a renewal of spirit, a renewal of energy, throw out the old things from the old year because we were suffering, we were struggling. We want to start afresh, we want to start anew. What would you say to individuals as they listen to you this evening as to how they should, kind of frame their thinking so that this year, if last year was bad, if last year wasn't the place where they wanted to be, so that this year can be much better and they can lay the platform for greater achievement for the future?
Well, the first step is identifying where you want to go. Because if you don't know where you want to go, then it'll be extremely difficult to get there. And when I say identify where you want to go, I mean get extremely crystal clear what you want for yourself, for your life, sorry. That means knowing where you want to be at the end of this year, professionally, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, socially, financially. It is getting crystal clear to where there's no doubt as to, okay, do I really want this? Or you just, it's like saying you want to lose weight. That's a general goal. Whereas you say, as opposed to you saying, I want to lose 30 pounds by the end of June this year. Very specific. So when you identify a specific goal like that, then you can reverse engineer it. So you identify where do I want to be at the end of this year. Once you can do that and you reverse engineer it, you can say, okay, now what will it take for me to get there? I know a lot of persons set goals the opposite way. They would say, all right, if I do this each day, that will get me to this point by the end of the year. But I want you to do it the opposite way. Start with the end goal in mind and then reverse engineer it. Identify what you want, where you want to be, and then back up. Okay, I have 12 months to accomplish this. So each month, I need to do this. Now, in each month, since I need to do this each month, now that means each week I need to do this. Now, each day in that week, so you break it down by month, by week, by day, even by hour. But you start with the end goal in mind. Now, just as important, or probably even more important than the goal, is your why, your reason. I give you an example. A lot of your listeners probably know my story. I had a smoking addiction. I was addicted to smoking for like 18 years. And when I got married, smoking before the wedding, which I supposedly did, right? As far as I knew, I did, but that didn't last. That lasted for about a year and I started smoking again. And then I was smoking for another, I think, couple of years after that before I actually stopped. And I looked at what was the difference between when I supposedly stopped the first time and when I actually stopped the second time. And the only difference I could think about is my why. When I stopped the first time, I stopped strictly because she wanted me to. I loved her, I wanted to make her happy. And as far as I was concerned, I could do this, man, no thing. But I spent the next year after I supposedly quit, I'm talking about feeding for smoke. That's all I could think about day and night because I hadn't actually quit in my mind. I physically quit, and I realized the second time I quit because my daughter was getting older. She was getting of age to where she could notice daddy is smoking now in the bathroom or in the yard or something. And, the questions are going to ask, daddy, what's that? Why are you smoking? And, I couldn't think of how I'm going to tell her don't smoke and I'm smoking. So I kept running that conversation over in my head. I also noticed how the smoking was getting in the way of my business, my brand, my relationship. It was negatively affecting every area of my life. And that's when I decided that, hey, that was a Tuesday. That's when I decided, hey, this is the last day I'm ever going to pick up a smoke again. I remember that clearly. That was Tuesday morning. And that was the last time. And the reason I did that is because I had a powerful enough why. I had a strong enough reason to do what I needed to do. The first time wasn't the strong. The second time it was a very powerful reason. And I always say you will always know when you have a strong enough reason. Whether you want to lose weight, you want to start a business, write a book, improve your relationship, make money, whatever your goal is. How you know if your reason is strong enough is when it will overpower any excuse that you could ever come up with. So an excuse is, I don't have enough money. I don't have the experience. I didn't grow up this way. I don't have any support from family and friends. The government isn't helping me. The economy is bad. The weather is bad. I never learned this. I don't have that education. All of those are excuses. Mind you, they are challenges. But if they stop you, they go in the excuse category. So it's understanding that Whatever your why is, it has to be strong enough to overpower every excuse there is in the book. That's when you know you have a strong enough why. So you identify the goal, you identify your why, what's your reason for wanting to achieve these goals, then you formulate a plan.
Yes.
That plan, you form, so, and it people like, a lot of people leave out this step. This is a very important step. Execute. Is one thing, I know professional goal setters. I know I was a professional goal setter myself.
Bring them into being.
Oh yeah. I used to write out my goals. I had a vision board on my wall. I used to print out pictures. I used to repeat my goals every night. I used to pretty my it used to be pretty, very pretty. But the execution wasn't there. I used to talk about my goals, dream about them, pray about them, wish I could achieve them. Everything you could name, I used to do, except go and then work for them. Execution is key. You want, you could plan all you want, you could think all you want, you could wish all you want, but oh my goodness, you need to execute. You need to actually go there and move.
And that is so important. You know, I think the takeaway from that as you share your story is, look, if you want it badly enough, you'll make a decision to do it or to stop doing it. And at the end of the day, all of us, you know, sometimes we are shy about this because of the environment that we are in. Sometimes we are around family or we are around friends who we've hung out with since we were, you know, wee tots. And the idea of dreaming beyond them sometimes becomes very frightful. It creates fear, literal fear in many persons. You know, they're going to see me as different. But I would want to encourage individuals today. I would want to encourage you to think beyond that. Think about, at the end of the day, what Nathan Sweeten is saying to you. You have to make a decision. You have to be intentional. You have to plan. He's not knocking planning. He's not knocking dreaming. He's not knocking using mantras and vision board and all of that. He's simply saying that at the end of the day, having done all of those things, which is part of the planning process and maybe even part of the strategy, you have to go out and execute. And therefore, it is possible that in this year, 2023, regardless of what 2022 or 21 or the year before did to you, and I'm sure if you lived through COVID did something to you. That pandemic did something to you. Whether you actually got COVID or you were locked in, but something happened to you. The question is, how are you going to make it here? Are you going to find or define your why and work hard, work consistently to make sure that at the end of 2023, this is going to be maybe one of your best years, if not the best, and set yourself up such that 2024 becomes better than 2020. I know you won't be with us much longer, Nathan. What would be your final words and how persons can find your book if they wish to purchase, or your books? I'm sorry, your books, if they wish to get copies.
So, well, first, so my final word would be, I'll end how I started. Be more intentional with your year, more intentional with your time, more intentional with your goals, more intentional with your thoughts, more intentional with your mission and your year. Just look at every aspect of your life, your marriage, your health, your relationship with your children, your business, your career. Just separate each area of your life and put pen to paper, identify, okay, how can I be more intentional with this in this area? And that includes even your friends, your family, the people you keep around you. How can I be more intentional in this area? Just start there. And being more intentional means what can I cut out? What should I cut out? What do I need to add? What habits do I need to get rid of? What habits do I need to form? Who do I need to cut out of my life that's not serving me, that's not serving my mission? Who do I need to bring into my life? Maybe I need to bring a mentor in. Maybe I need to bring a coach in. But being more intentional means just putting your life under examination. And then it all starts with your mindset.
And think
now, say again?
Go ahead.
Now, as far as where to find me, my 2 books, you can go to my website. Everything is located, first of all, on my website, nls-global.com. That's nls-global.com. You can find me on the general social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok as Nathan L. Sweeting. My books are in All Seasons Book and Gift Center, and they are in Chapter 1 bookstore opposite University of the Bahamas. I'm also actually hosting a book, my first ever, and I'm so excited with this. My first ever book signing event is going to be on Thursday, 1 week from today, Thursday the 19th, at Chapter 1 bookstore from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. So I'm going to be there. Come get your book copies. Both books are there. We're going to have some FaceTime and we're going to do some networking there between those 2 hours.
Yes, and so, it's certainly a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us on this early January show to share your views, to share your ideas, and we encourage you to go out and support Nathan Sweeten, not just for the support. The fact of the matter is, if you get these books, you are going to be buying value, and it is mind over everything, key mindset, attitudes, and habit to thrive in life. That is really what you want to be doing in 2023. Set yourself up such that you can thrive. And if more than likely the persons around you, the persons who you love, the persons who you care for, the persons who you want to be significant to, will thrive too, because before you can deliver value to anyone, you must first create value for yourself. You've been listening to The Essentials. You are listening to The Essentials, the Reset. Our guest for this segment, Mr. Nathan Sweeten, he's going to step away. And then when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. We're going to look at how we can extend some of these ideas, how we can put them into action. What are some of the things that I can say to you to ensure that we do what we started to talk about last week, that we live our lives full out. So it's mind over everything. Yes, that's true. But at the end of the day, once you get that mind mastered, you want to ensure that you live your life full out to the best extent possible. Don't move. Come right back. This is The Essentials.
Not going to live my life like the rest. I'm not settling. I deserve the best. Absolutely no opinion, no contesting. Some people don't want to elevate, so I say bye-bye, bye. Nice to know you, but I got to go. Off to destiny, I must grow. Small minds want to slow me down, but I'm going to fly like an eagle. Sometimes people won't always be there. In life, you got to make some decisions to leave and not settling. I deserve the best.
Do you know you can get your business cards designed and printed for as low as 18 cents a card? If it's a poster you want, you can. If your print needs are short or long run, digital printing, wide format, or print consultation, call the best. Call Print Masters. Print Masters' goal is to provide its clients with the highest level of personal, professional service at an affordable price. Our state-of-the-art technology also makes working together efficient and easy. Laminations, business cards, flyers, posters, window and floor decals are just a few of the digitized print services offered at Print Masters. Call 302-2361, 302-2361, or visit us at the Nassau Guardian Building in Oaksfield. Print with the best. Print with Print Masters.
Next Level Solutions. Next Level Solutions. At Next Level Solutions, we assist companies and organizations to understand and strategically resolve governance, risk, compliance, regulatory, finance, and operational challenges, maximize their performance and grow. Level Solutions, a dynamic consultancy built on experiential knowledge. For further details on our service offerings, visit nlsolutionsbahamas.com or call 376-8951. Next Level Solutions. Practical solutions delivered.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying you'll never reach it. Every step I'm taking, every move I make feels lost with no direction. My faith is shaken, but I gotta keep trying. Gotta keep my head held high. There's always gonna be another mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. It ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb.
It's the climb. Certainly, we always have another mountain. We always have another uphill battle. But we have to focus on the climb. We have to be determined to get there. And so you heard earlier for Mr. Nathan Sweeten, who joined us briefly for the first segment of the show. And we talk about, things like, how are you going to get the right mindset? How are you going to embrace your passion, control your mind, focus on the goals? What is your long-term vision? And the fact that in order to do these things, you have to have courage. You have to find the courage to fight for, to work hard, to get the things that you want out of life. Nothing, absolutely nothing in life, well, at least not my life, maybe yours or some of the persons listening out there. But in my experience, things don't come easily. It don't matter how you may see it it's looking for some persons. It don't matter how glamorous it might seem at the end of the day. When the climb is taken place, before the mountaintop is achieved, it certainly is a slog. You have to work hard to get there. And so the question you need to keep asking yourself, what is your life's mission? What is it that you want to get out of life? What is it, more importantly, what is it that you want to give to life? What is it that you want to give to humanity? What is it that you want to give to the persons around you? When you are no longer here, and that day will come, sooner or later, unfortunately sooner for some persons, but let's hope we are here as long as we can. But when that day comes, the question is, what is it that you would have left? What is it that you would have parlayed your talents, your skills, your passion into and deposited to humanity? That is important. So it's not simply about what we are accruing for ourselves, because at the end of the day, as we know it, all physical things that we will achieve will be left on this side of consciousness. But the way we touch and build and develop and help other persons to grow and to become better goes into eternity, because they themselves then help others and so forth. So understand that by our thoughts, by our thinking, we can radically change our lives. We can radically change our circumstances. We can radically experience the same things. We can experience the exact same thing, but respond radically different. And that is where I believe Mr. Sweeten was pointing to. That is where the mastery comes in. Because you're not going to suddenly wake up tomorrow and you're living in nirvana. You're not suddenly going to wake up tomorrow and you are in heaven. You're going to be, if you wake up tomorrow, be here right here on earth, and you have to face all of the vagaries that life have to offer, the ups and downs, the getting sick, the paying of the bills, not having enough money, hearing about calamity, somebody gets shot, hearing about strike, prices going up, taxes going up. All of these things are things that we have to contend with on a day-to-day basis. And the question is, when we look around, we must ask, why is it that some persons thrive within this environment while others struggle? And within this context, I always have to put this proviso out there. I am not talking about the persons who sell their souls for gain, the persons who do things which are despicable, the persons who do things which are not nice. Yes, they're thriving in their own way, but I'm not encouraging that. I'm encouraging righteous living, careful living, living which you, when you come to the end of your journey, you can look back and be proud of. Living which is going to uplift others, which is going to cause persons to become their best. You, as you learn and grow, become a better version of yourself. So we understand that our thoughts and emotions and our actions are all controlled from our minds, our thinking. And we learned earlier from Nathan Sweeten that our mind don't have to control us. We have the ability to control it, but it will if we are not intentional about how we go about doing that. And so I just want to extend that conversation where he says it's mind over everything, and take us to the place where we have to now understand that this idea of living tepidly, living with our lights turned down to the lowest possible level, is kind of antithetic to what we are or who we're supposed to be in our full glory as human beings. So the question for us to contemplate is, how do we live this life full out? How do we get out there without going out there, without being obnoxious, without being outrageous, without being rude? How do we live our lives out to the fullest? What are some of the points that we want to reflect on as we do this? I think we want to kind of slow down and ask ourselves, how hard can I go? How hard can I go? And that sometimes may be a hard question to answer. But easily refined, can I go harder than I'm going at this moment? Sometimes the answer to that is way, way easier. And often it is yes. Can I go harder? Because the fact of the matter is, if we look at an athlete don't wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm running fast, and then suddenly run some of the best time in the world. They progressively get faster and faster and better as they build speed, as they build strength, as they build endurance, as they work on their form, as they work on their efficiency, as they work on different aspects of things. So they have to execute. They have to execute the start. They have to execute the drive phase. They have to execute the middle phase of the race. They have to execute how they stay in terms of their endurance and how they dip at the end of the line. If we're using 100 meter as an analogy for what we're talking about here. So the question is, can I go harder or can I do better? And usually the answer to that is yes. How hard have you been going up to 2022? How hard have I been going? Is it hard enough? How consistent has this effort been? Now, oftentimes we have bursts of brilliance, bursts of speed, bursts of strength. But that's not consistent. We do well today and tomorrow we kind of let up. We do good on the job and then we let up. We do good in relationships and we let up. The question is, how can we ensure that we develop the type of a discipline, not easy, but necessary? How do we develop the discipline to ensure that we consistently inject the effort in life, do the things in our lives which are going to make us better and which are going to impact us and our world and the people around us positively? So that's one of the things that you must reflect, living your life out in fullness. And then I want you to reflect on this idea. I reflect on it often myself. Are you satisfied with your outcomes today? Answer to that may be a quick no. Answer to that may be yes, more power to you. Answer to that maybe not, kind of in between. But whatsoever it is, it's a point of reflection. And the idea of asking and answering that question is to create a benchmark as to how much better you want to become. Because you know your effort, you know how hard you've been going, you have an understanding of what you're capable of. But certainly the results that you are achieving tells a very clear story. It tells you exactly what you have been doing up to this point. Now, not in all instances, your outcome is going to be reflective of your effort. Sometimes things just absolutely don't work out. But oftentimes, we know in our hearts of heart that it could have been better. And the reason it's not as good as it could have been is because we were not as good as we should have been. It's as simple as that. So you want to reflect on this to make sure that we can then get out there. And as we heard earlier, living to your fullest potential demands a certain mindset, demands a mindset which says, I can, I will, I must, I am going to. It requires a positive mindset. I have to get to that particular goal. I am going to work hard to do it. Yes, I'm struggling. Yes, I have challenges. I can get there. And once you start to speak to yourself and start to frame your thinking in that direction, your mind automatically starts to look for solutions. As opposed to when you do the opposite. If you say, I can, I won't, I am unable to, then your mind goes to rest. You kind of tells it, gives it permission to don't go to work on this thing because there's no outcome which is going to be positive. But the moment you start to say to yourself, to speak to your mind, to control your mind in the direction which says, I will do this. And then the mind looks around and says, well, we're taking an inventory here and we don't see you have the money, we don't see you have the resources, we don't see you have the learning, we don't see you have the relationships and so on and so forth. And you say, well, I'm going to get that. I will have to have that. Then the mind starts to say, well, okay, let's see how we can work to fill this storeroom with this inventory, which is necessary to achieve the things that we're looking for. And that's why it's important to develop and maintain that type of a mindset. So if you're not living in this type of a way, if you're not thinking in this type of way, the way I put it is you need to create a mind shift. And a mind shift is basically, we're going to move from the paradigms that we think about, that we embrace, that we accept, and we're going to move into a totally different, new type of a paradigm. We are going to move from our comfort zone, and we are going to get into the place where we have to learn to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so you have to think about, what is it that you are going to do? How are you going to tell yourself? How are you going to dream yourself and then execute, as Nathan Sweeten said earlier? It's not just about dreaming, it's not just about thinking, it's not just about planning, but how you are going to execute yourself into a future which delivers for you the things which you desire. So the question is, as we have this conversation, and if you wish to join us, as I said earlier, you can call us on the various lines. We will be willing to hear from you. But the things that you need to consider is, what are some of the ideas that I just need to share around in my mind? Nothing even yet in terms of a strategy, but just the thinking, because first of all, the first thing that we need to work on right here in January, before we get into the rest of the year, we have to make sure that we have the right mindset going forward. So one of the things that, especially if I'm interacting with an individual or I'm thinking through a process, I often recognize that the answers are not always readily available. The answers are not readily available, but I also understand, I've come to appreciate the fact that sometimes the questions are more powerful than the answers themselves. Eventually, you will get the answers. But framing and formulating the right questions is absolutely, absolutely important. So where should we start in this whole journey? Where should we start in this transaction of seeking to create that mindset which helps us to live life out in full? From my perspective, start by asking yourself some questions. One of the questions is, are you willing to live your life full out? Full stop. The objective is to live in a fuller way, to achieve your life's goal, to achieve your mission, to approach your human potential. So the first thing you must therefore ask and accept is, am I willing to do this? Because if the answer to that is no, then that's the end of the transaction, really. So are you willing to live your life full out? Are you willing to live to your full potential? Are you willing to work to become the expert in your field? Are you willing to go back to school even though it's 20 years later, even though it's 30 years later? Are you willing to put yourself through the stages to become who you wish to become? Not who somebody else wants you to be, but to who you wish to become. That person you desire to become, that person who you know you ought to be, that version of yourself. Are you willing to do that? Do you have an attitude which says, no matter what? No matter what, I am going to do it. And this is not no matter what, taking into consideration things which don't make sense. Like, no matter what, I'm going to work until I die. No. You do things which are going to produce positive outcomes. So when you are down to your last dollar and hunger chips in, you're still going to find a way to find a book to read. You're still going to find a way to get to work. You're still going to find a way to plod at whatsoever it is that you're doing. When the bills pile up, when the challenges emerge, when life gets overbearing and you feel like you're going to break under the strain, are you still going to be in that mindset which says, no matter what, come what may, I am going to work as hard as is possible to make sure that I get over the top, over the hill? I have a quote that I wrote, and it asks, which mountain am I going to conquer today? Which mountain am I going to conquer today? So that's a question. And the answer is, hopefully, than the one I conquered yesterday. Now, until you get into the business of conquering your mountains, you cannot get that response. You cannot make that response because you did nothing yesterday. I mean, in absolute terms, yes, a zero, doing nothing is zero conquering a zero mountain. So it still would be better than what you did yesterday. But when you get into the business of surmounting your challenges, doing better, that's how you're going to grow. So which mountain are you going to conquer tomorrow? Which mountain are you going to deal with? Where are you going to be tomorrow? What type of an attitude are you going to take? Are you going to hang on this no matter what? Which one? And the next thing I want to ask is, are you willing to let your light shine and shine brightly, or are you going to dim that down so that other persons can be comfortable? Because you don't have to be in a place where you are uncomfortable with persons who are going to be uncomfortable with you and your success. Oftentimes, we get to the place where we are so caught up in what other individuals think, what other individuals do, that we really, kind of lose ourselves. We lose our way because we are too concerned about how we look to others, what others will think about us. And so to accommodate them, we kind of turn our lights down. We turn our lights down in a very, very serious way. And because we do that, everything goes south. We find ourselves at the end of the day without anything, not doing what we should have done, and then realize that the people who we were so much concerned about didn't really concern themselves about us. So you have to get to that place where you ensure that you're not turning down your light so that other persons can be comfortable. You want to keep it at a level where you thrive and you become better. But if you're going to be successful, in 2023, and if you're like me who went through 2022 and got the licks, and certainly went through the pandemic and some bigger licks, you must be at a place now, and if you're not there, then you wouldn't have learned anything from that whole interaction. Don't ask for permission to be your best self or anything that you desire to be. Just do it. Don't ask for permission. Going through pandemic, going through the crisis, losing revenue, losing income, seeing persons around you being challenged, hearing about family members losing their lives or friends or persons close to you, how vulnerable we were. How fleeting the human life could be. Why then are we hanging around asking for permission to be who we're supposed to be? Why then are we asking for permission to become our best self? So in 2023, I hope you would join me in doing this. Just do it. Don't matter. Nobody checking for you. Nobody think you're special anyway. There's nothing unique about you. All of the other persons out there hustling, they're looking in the same direction that you're looking. They're trying to make their life better. As I said, just don't go out there and do any foolishness. Don't do it the wrong way. Don't do it in a way which is not right, not righteous. But go out and live your life. And don't ask anybody for permission to be your best self, because you as an individual, you as a singular entity, you have that sovereign right to be the absolutely best person that you can be. Whatsoever circumstance you encounter in life which creates barriers towards achieving that goal, the barriers to becoming that, whatsoever hurdles in life that you have to overcome, whether it's where you were born, who your family were, you run into some problem, you may have had a physical disability, you got into an accident, whatsoever it is, to the extent that you are still here, there is a level of potential that is in you, and you ought to maximize that. So 2023, you should be working to do that. And you should be doing that every single month, every single week, every single day. Not going to go down to hours, but maybe even hour by hour, but that's kind of too granular. Certainly every single week or every single month, you should be seeing progress. You should be understanding that your thoughts going to control your emotions. Your thoughts are going to control your action. And when you take mastery of that, you will be able to create great things. To live the life that you want and to live life full out, you must beat back mediocrity. That, unfortunately, we observe that too often in ourselves. And by ourselves, I mean our collective self, because oftentimes when we as individuals are mediocre, we don't see it. We almost require somebody to present us as a mirror to reflect that level of mediocrity. But too often we settle for too less. We are not as good as we should be. We're okay with good enough. And excellence is not always our benchmark. Excellence is not always our goal. We are okay with getting by. 2023, I want us to not do that. You and I, it is our family, our country, our region. I want us to be different. I want us to be at a place where we are working to be successful. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? It may sound like something a bit tricky, which is an important statement. Because we're not here forever. We have a moment on this world. We have a moment in time, and we have limited time to deliver our best self. And so we have to work hard on that. So we have to kind of take the plunge, yeah? We need to jump head on, move straight through. We have to go at this as if this year is our last year. I believe, let me speak a little bit for the Bahamas. I know persons outside of the Bahamas do listen to us. But let me come home for a bit. 2023 is going to be one of the most pivotal years for the Bahamas. I believe so. Nationally, and in some instances, personally. If we miss this boat, if we do not do the things that we need to do, if we do not make the sacrifices, if we do not build the foundations in 2023, we're going to lose out in critical ways. I honestly believe that. But, that's a conversation for another day. Well, as far as the national perspective is concerned. But at a personal level, are you too willing to quit? Am I too willing to quit? As soon as something goes wrong, we say, we can't bother. As soon as things doesn't go our way, I give up. As soon as we realize that the favor we expect from certain persons is not going to be materialized, we say, well, forget about them, they're not good, they're bad-minded, I am going to roll over, turn myself up in the fetal position and watch life goes by. No, we can't do that. We have to get to the place where we develop this mindset that, there's nothing around here that deals with quitting. And this becomes a daily commitment, because as we move towards our goals, as we do things bit by bit, incrementally, there's always going to be struggle. But the reality is you cannot get to point A before you transact through point B. You cannot get to point B before you transact through point A. You can skip over some things, but you will often find that when you get to the further point, you are not prepared. And that's what the struggle is about. The struggle in between the 2 points is to prepare you for a more advanced place in your life. So don't run from the struggle, but not quit. Now, what qualifies me to sit here and have this conversation with you? Say that to you. I'm convinced, I'm comfortable that I can say, not perfectly, but I have lived in such a way where if I was otherwise, if I behaved otherwise, Not always been at my best, obviously. There's more that I could do and could have done. But the one thing I know for sure is I have and I've always embraced the spirit of never giving up, being willing to try and try again, try something different, keep going. And that's the thing which qualifies me to have this particular conversation. I see too many persons around who are willing to give up because life is not going their way. It's not going exactly as they expect. But a lot of times, success is just beyond that thought of giving up, just around the corner, just a little bit more. They ask you to go the extra mile, and success is right there, right in the middle of the extra mile. So you have done all the work, you have walked 100 miles, and you are now required to go just one more mile. Oftentimes, we see that extra mile as a greater burden, as something way, way, way more enormous than the 100 miles that we have walked so far. But being relentless, developing the ability and the willingness to persevere, to stay with it, to stick with it, is the way we're going to get there. And very importantly, as we do this, we're going to need persons to be walking with us. We're going to need persons to be helping us. And we are going to be needing to help persons along the way, because that's how this life is. It has to be a symbiotic relationship with ourselves as a collective, interacting with each individual. Each one teach one, each one help one, each one encourages the other. So if you feel like 2022 was a rough year, a tough year, a bad year, 2023 has not started out in the greatest year, I am saying to you today, I'm saying to you in this moment, make one big decision. Decide that this year you're going to win, this year you're going to achieve big things, and come what may, hell or high water, there is absolutely no quitting in your psyche. You're developing that mindset, the mindset which says, I can, I will, I must. And if you start to do that, you may not get to the mountaintop immediately. You may not even get there at all. But I can guarantee you, you're not going to be where you are now in this moment. It's going to be better off. But you have to put the work in. You have to change the mindset. You have to create the mind shift. You have to make sure that you understand that it's about mind mastery. It's about self-mastery. It's about discipline. It's about sacrifice. It's about making the things necessary to deliver that which you desire in the future. That's how we are going to start to move in the direction of living our lives out in full. You listen to The Essentials. I am Hubert Edwards, your host. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to get into the last segment of the show. We're going to continue to wrap this idea around our minds. How do we live full out in 2022? Nathan Sweeten says it's mind over everything. You have to develop key mindset, you have to develop key attitudes, you have to ensure that you engender productive and positive habits in order to live a life which is going to be one thriving. Act 2, don't move. Come right back.
There's always gonna be another mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's a climb.
Do you know you can get your business cards designed and printed for as low as 18 cents a card? If it's a poster you want, you can pay as little as $6 a square foot. If your print needs are short or long run, digital printing, wide format, or print consultation, call the best. Call Print Masters. Print Masters' goal is to provide its clients with the highest level of personal, professional service at an affordable price. Our state-of-the-art technology also makes working together efficient and easy. Laminations, business cards, flyers, posters, window and floor decals are just a few of the digitized print services offered at Print Masters. Call 3061 302-2361 or visit us at the Nassau Guardian Building in Oaksfield. Print with the best. Print with Print Masters.
Next Level Solutions. Next Level Solutions. At Next Level Solutions, we assist companies and organizations to understand and strategically resolve governance, risk, compliance, regulatory, finance, and operational challenges, maximize their performance, and grow. Next Level Solutions, a dynamic consultancy built on experiential knowledge. For further details on our service offerings, visit nlsolutionsbahamas.com or call 376-8951. Next Level Solutions. Practical solutions delivered.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out, and mountains, and I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again.
And welcome back to the Essentials, the Reset. It's time for us to rise up, I believe, for those of us who are challenged, for those of us who are not where we want to be in life, for those of us who are struggling in whatsoever way. And struggle don't oftentimes mean suffering. Can be, but don't necessarily have to be suffering. Some level of discomfort, uncomfortable in some instances, but not necessarily suffering. Because there are many, many persons who are in circumstances where they're suffering comfortably. We have to get to the place where we start to kind of clear our minds and develop an understanding that, hey, this is the way we are going to live our lives. This is the way we're going to interact with persons. This is the way we're going to treat persons, regardless of how they treat, regardless of how they may interact with you. Now, somebody treat you bad, I'm not saying that you're going to be buddy-buddy with them, but that don't mean you have to go to the end of the world to ensure that you and that person it becomes enemy or enforce the animosity between you two. Achieve certain favors. It don't mean that when the time comes around for you, when you have the ability to, you're going to withhold the favor from that person or some other persons. Oftentimes you hear persons say, well, I don't have anything to give anyone because no one gives me anything. It's just not a right way of doing life, at least from my perspective. So this is not simply about trying to, move self. It's also recognizing that the self has a responsibility in this experiment called community, in this experiment called society. Each of us have something that we have and can contribute to others. There's this African proverb which says, like a turtle, to advance, a man must stick his neck out. If you want to move forward like a turtle, everybody know what a turtle is. You have to come out of that shell. And you have to stick your neck out and you have to be able to move. And if we use the turtle as a real analogy to how life works and how we progress, the turtle is a very, very, very slow creature. And because the turtle is slow, the turtle is very vulnerable, but it walks around with its armor, its safe zone, its protection. And that's its shell. The thing we must realize, though, if we look at the turtle, if we assess on the mechanics of its advancement, is that whenever it feels threatened, whenever it experiences fear, whenever it feels unsafe, it pulls itself in to its shell. And when it does that, no movement takes place. It's simply inside the shell, inside its comfort zone. In order to move forward, in order to advance, in order to find food, in order to move from one locality to the next, in order to go wheresoever it is going, in order to achieve the things that it needs to achieve, it must, it has no choice but to stick its head out. And the analogy becomes very powerful when we understand. And if we equate that to the human existence, a head is one of the most important parts of the body. It's most vulnerable part of your body. You get hit in the head or you get your neck squeezed or any version in between. You don't want to get too gory. You're going to be imperiled. You're going to be in danger. But understand that in order for that turtle to make progress, he has to put that thing out, the thing which really has the greatest potential of being harmed. And if it is harmed, will cost its life. So you can do one or two things. You can either decide to be vulnerable and step out of your shell, or you can stay curled up in that shell and don't progress, don't grow, don't become anything different, don't move from the place you are, like the turtle would. Or you can do otherwise and move forward. But you can also take another message, another thought from the actual movement of turtle. And you can start to understand that not always in life are you going to be able to move very quickly, but you will move nonetheless. So you must be willing to take some risk, good risk, not no bad one. Don't go drink no rum, extra rum. Don't go put bad things in your body. Don't expose yourself to certain lifestyle. Don't put yourself in too much physical danger. But you need to take good risks. You need to be thinking, do I want to get into business? Am I entrepreneurial? Do I have that itch? Take some risk in that. You need to take some risks to go back to school. You need to take some risk in terms of saying, look, I am going to live my life in such a way that, I don't care about the Joneses. What I care about is my relationships and how I am going to progress in the future. So make the sacrifices today. Every single one of those things is a risk. The risk of losing some friends is that you don't go out every single time. You decide, well, you're going to curtail your spending. You decide where you're going to spend your money, because sometimes when you do that, certain persons fall away, certain groupings fall away. You decide, well, certain clubs you're not going to be in anymore. Certain events you cannot participate because you have a bigger life goal and beyond. Or to have it before, but take those risks, good risks. Like I said before, become vulnerable. Be comfortable with being vulnerable. There's this saying which says, knowledge begins with humbleness. And really, you could replace knowledge begins with humbleness to say knowledge begins with vulnerability. Oftentimes, to use as an example, adult learners, individuals who may be in their 30s and 40s and they can't read and write, they have the opportunity, they have the ability. But the reason that they never progress is because they are unwilling to be vulnerable. They are unwilling for persons to know that at this point in time in their lives, they are unable to be literate or numerate. And because of those two things, because not really two things, but because of maybe, it's about embarrassment and pride, because of that, the unwillingness to be vulnerable, to humble themselves to the fact that they can't, and to subject themselves to what they may feel to be embarrassment so that they can become. They never become. So you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And then you have to understand that every move you make, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant it may seem in the moment, is a step forward. Every single movement you make forward takes you than you were. Oftentimes, and I think it's a human thing, I have the same experience. We are looking for the home runs. We are looking for the one shot to the fence. And oftentimes, those never come, or they rarely do. And so we must be satisfied. We must become comfortable and understand and get into the mindset so that we can appreciate that it's the one step forward, then the next step, then another step, which gets us closer to our destination, which gets us closer to our objective. And then we have to kind of contend with this idea of being scared, being afraid. There literally are persons out there, I hope you're not one of them, but there literally are persons who are afraid of success, because success creates different things in their lives. And then there are persons who are deadly afraid of failing. Lots of persons are, but there are some persons who are terrified with the idea of failing any at all, and they end up doing absolutely nothing because they don't want to fail, and because they do nothing, they're very, very much successful at not doing anything, and consequently, nothing. They end up with nothing. There's no movement, there's no growth, there's no change, there's no difference from one point to the next, from 1 year to the next. We can't be scared. We can't be scared. I can tell you from my life experiences, looking back at the moments when I was afraid, when I was not bold enough, when courage wasn't there, that those were moments where opportunities were missed, or opportunities were taken, but they lacked the necessary push, the necessary gravitas, the necessary impetus, because there was nothing much behind it. It was too tepid. It was too small thinking, too limited. And you can always experience that when you look back. Had I done just a little bit more, had I gone just a little bit harder, we have to get to the place where we know, and we become comfortable with embracing the big picture, the big idea, the big ability in the first instance. I would want to say to you, to me, to us, 23 as we start the year, consider, what is your legacy going to be? I once asked somebody that question, and the person said to me, I do not think much about legacy. Once I'm gone, persons will decide what I did or who I was. Important person. The individual was, in many regards, very successful. Somebody who I looked up to, still have great respect for. But that moment changed my mind in many ways how I see that individual or saw that individual, because that person totally misunderstood exactly what legacy means. It's not how people is going to characterize you when you're gone. Your legacy is the intentional things you do right now. If you're fussing about your legacy, if you're going to be concerned about your legacy, you have to make sure that you're doing things which are going to be valuable, which are going to add value to individuals and society. Now, when you're gone, people may still say that you are absolutely no good, you didn't do any good. But the fact of the matter is that those things that you would have poured into other individuals, those things that you would have created which benefited person will still stand. So focus on your legacy. What is it that you would, if you're going to be remembered, you want to be remembered for? And what are some of the problems that you want to solve? What do you want to be? You want to be an accountant. You want to be a doctor. You want to be out there solving engineering problems. You want to help persons to live a better life, as our guest earlier said, better understand that they can become better individuals. Whatsoever your objective is, define those problems and start to work to solve them, because the moment you start to work to solve problems for others, you start to immediately create value for yourself and you start to grow. You have no choice. Absolutely just will happen. Because if you want to solve a problem, let's say you want to become a doctor, not like me, if you're, kind of my age and thing, but you're a young person and you want to become a doctor, you are going to go to school. You're going to study certain subjects. You're going to spend a lot of time in university or higher learning study. You're going to spend a lot of time doing internship, and then you're going to come out, and all things being equal, you can make a ton of money, but you are going to help a lot of persons by saving their lives, helping them to become better individuals in living healthy lives. The point here is, if you are going to be that, then you must first go through these things. You have to first add that value to yourself in order to deliver the value. So when you decide the problems that you want to solve, you immediately start to create and define the path that you must go, the path that you must go through in order to solve those problems, in order to create the value. And so in 2023, we want to see the best version of ourselves. A better version than last year, a better version than 10 years ago. But certainly, if we can approach the best version so far, then we are setting ourselves up for 2024 for even better things. So I want you to think about it. Here in the Bahamas, persons like to tell others I am asking you in 2023, I'm admonishing you and myself, let's stay in that lane and let's turn it into a super highway, because we have the ability, we have the power, we have the potential to live greater lives, become better persons, to become more. We always like to end this show by saying, do not allow your greatness to become a victim of your unwillingness to change. You've been listening to The Essentials, The Reset. I'm your host, Hubert Edwards. Have a good night. All that's left to say is walk good, one love, Ubuntu.
There's a voice inside my head saying you'll never reach it. Every step I'm taking, every move I make feels lost with no direction. My faith is shaken, but I gotta keep trying. Gotta keep